Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Happy Wednesday. Here we are midweek already and a nice brisk 30 degrees out there, but makes you feel any better. It feels like 23.
Yeah, it is very cold today. So
Going to about 46, and that's about it for Savannah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Not a fan. Not a fan.
It is long. I kind of like the cold weather. Maybe not quite this cold, but keep the wind. Okay. I don't mind the cool, but when the wind starts blowing, I'm out.
Yeah, definitely cold here today. So make sure you take a coat. I would not recommend a jacket today. A definite coat. Bill, there's been a lot of frustrations with our governor from the grassroots and different things. One of them being the Fani Willis fiasco that we're currently in.
Yeah.
He's currently at the World Economic Forum. I don't know, Bill. I just don't think that that's like a really great place for the governor of our state to be right now. You can see that he's pictured with Hyundai, which obviously they have a huge plant going in here. Maybe the reason for his trip. However, he has never answered why he was at Davos last year for the World Economic Forum. So still curious what the big deal is with him being over there.
Yeah. And of course, with all the problems that we're having with electric cars already, and what are they going to do? I have contacted the Hyundai people here about 4 times now, and they've been as silent as the Sphinx on getting back to us on what they plan to do because of the low demand for electric vehicles. Ford has already said they're going to cut production on at least half of them. Have you heard that Hertz had 20,000 of them for sale?
No.
Yeah, they had. I think they bought like 20 or 60,000 or something electric vehicles. They've already put like 20,000 up for sale, and they've sold 2, something along those lines. It's just, and of course, we saw some pictures from Chicago yesterday of people with their Teslas that were actually pushing them to the charging stations because they ran out. And one guy was on Fox and Friends this morning saying that there were like 5 or 6 charging stations, only one of which worked.
Yeah, look at these Teslas. It doesn't look like they're going anywhere anytime soon.
No.
People just left them there.
Yeah, because batteries, when they get cold, lose their charge. And so you're only getting at least less than half of what you were expected to get in the first place, if anything. And then there's some little caveat that said you're supposed to press the preheat button or something before you do anything else if it gets that cold.
Yeah, well, I bet you that reality versus narrative is really sinking in for a lot of people right now.
Yeah, there's that. So we're supposed to be building them here, hiring 8,400 people, and building a battery plant and everything else. Okay, well, good luck with that. But Hyundai people, we've asked you. I've asked politely on 4 occasions. Would you just come on and explain to us what your plans are? If you're going to build real cars, or you're going to continue to build these monstrosities, or what are you going to do?
Yeah, and Lizzie Warren says, betcha City of Savannah buys a bunch of Hyundai EVs, but they won't keep the plant in business.
Mm-hmm.
You are correct. I don't know if everyone knows this, but the goal of Savannah is to be the most environmentally friendly city in the state of Georgia.
Oh, send
Isn't
up a
that
flare.
exciting?
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Mary McCann Hybrider says no one wants them. The EV scam.
Mm-hmm.
It absolutely is, and we can see the market working this out. I do think that this is a huge problem, Bill, when we have the government picking winners and losers and telling you what you have to want or have in your life.
Exactly.
The EVs are the prime example of that, along with wind and solar, because guess what happens when it gets cold? Neither one of those work either.
That's right. As the people in Texas, what was about 2 or 3 years ago,
Yep.
all their windmills had frozen, and they had to revert. Some people said, "I hadn't had my little generator, we might have died."
Yeah, well,
Texas of all places.
I know.
I didn't realize they built that many windmills because
They got
Texas was leading
subsidies.
the yeah.
They got so many subsidies that they
Mm,
felt, I mean, it was free money. So,
yeah.
of course, they did. This is, again, what happens when the government decides that they need to take your tax money and
Uh-huh.
give subsidies to companies, even though we don't want it.
Yeah.
So,
Remember Solyndra?
yeah,
Yeah, boy. All
exciting
those
stuff.
billions of dollars for the solar panels that we were building here. And we destroyed all of it. What bothered me is when they went out of business, they said they started destroying all the. Well, why didn't you just give the damn things away?
They probably got a kickback for destroying them. And that's how this stuff works. Nothing makes sense until
Must
you
have.
follow the money.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, and now coming out of the World Economic
Hmm.
Forum this week, a very exciting word that we're going to continue to hear. And I think that us as conservatives need to be on the lookout for this and try to make sure that we decide the narrative, not the left.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, ecocide as a word is it's becoming better known around the world, and the concept is generally mass damage and destruction of nature. But legally speaking, what our organisation and other collaborators aim to do is to have this recognised legally as a serious crime. Because one of the issues that sort of pervades all of this discussion is that we have a kind of cultural, very ingrained habit of not taking damage to nature as seriously as we take damage to people and property. And that, I mean, you know, if you're campaigning for human rights, at least you know mass murder, torture, all of these things are serious crimes. But there's no equivalent in the environmental space. And so, you know, unlike an international crime like genocide that involves a specific intent, with ecocide, what we see is actually what people are trying to do, what businesses are trying to do, is make money, is farm, is fish, is do all of these things that are producing energy and so on as well. But what's missing is the awareness and the conscience around the side effects, around the collateral damage that happens with that.
All she did was say a bunch of words there, but the
Mm-hmm.
eco side, I think we're going to hear a lot more of. It's the first time I've ever heard about that word that they're using, but ecocide is
It's about the farm. It's about the fish. What does she eat?
she eats Bill Gates meat,
Oh,
3D printed
okay.
meat. Yum.
And
Isn't everyone on board with that?
mm-hmm. And what are
I'm
they
not
gonna
eating
what are they
it.
gonna make it with? And when we don't have any of the other processing facilities.
Uh-huh. Well, and Lizzie Warren brings up a good point. Did every attendee to Davos commit ecocide flying on planes?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'll bet they did.
Uh-huh.
I think they should all be arrested.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's interesting when they try to shame us, but I actually think that ecocide means like look at what Teslas are doing. They're being left. We saw the video just a minute ago at gas stations. The batteries are bad for the environment. That is ecocide.
Yeah. What all the stuff and what are the cars themselves made out of? Are they kind of a plastic type
Mm-hmm.
substance?
Yeah.
And where does that come from?
I
think it comes from fossil fuels.
Petroleum, I think.
By
Comes
the
to
yeah
mind.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
By the way, the term fossil fuel we keep railing about is not a correct. The geologists over 20 or 30 years ago discovered that the Earth makes its own. It's not. It wasn't. We didn't have that many dinosaurs. Okay.
Wait a minute. So that means it's renewable energy.
Yeah, it's renewable energy.
Just rebranded. It's renewable energy.
Yeah.
We can all use it, and we can all
because they've gone
drill
to
for it.
wells that they capped in Texas, like 30, 40 years ago, went back and it's full again. Well, now how did that happen? Did more dinosaurs die? Did another cycle of dinosaurs age out and refill the well? Just ask it. So this is something that is naturally produced by the earth that God gave us. It's very cheap. It's easy. It has lots of joules. That's the amount of energy per ounce or however they measure that. And it's very, very efficient. I don't think any of the gas pumps in Chicago were out of order. And I don't think it took more than about 5 minutes to fill up your car. And the cars were running.
And moving.
Yeah, absolutely moving. It didn't have to be pushed to the gas pump.
Yeah, and Mary McCann Hybrider says, where does the power come from to charge batteries? Fossil fuels. Imagine how that works.
I thought it was wind and solar.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely
Yeah.
not.
But at least God bless us here in Georgia for building nuclear power plants. And Unit 4 is about to go online here in the next few months. We just had Unit 3 go online up there at Plant Vogel. So good on us. But we're the first state in the last 50 years to build nuclear power, and the advances in nuclear power. They now have, so we could be running entire cities now on the new nuclear power devices that are available and the new technology.
Well, I look forward to that reducing our costs here in Georgia for our electric bills and things like that. I think we still have to pay for the plant.
Well, yeah, we do.
Once, once it's paid for, we can
right. Yeah,
see a reduction, hopefully.
And we'll be able to sell it to other places that decided not to build theirs. So we're going to be building solar power plants, and we're going to be selling that to other states, just like Texas used to sell their power to California because California was closing their nuclear power plants and coal powered plants.
So
it's
stupid.
Just ridiculous.
We closed ours, but we're still paying for it because we're getting it from Texas. Like, it makes no sense. Logic is not a skill that the left has. Mary Can Hydebreeder says Hyundai plants should be retooled for hybrids. I think that may be one of their options because
and hydrogen.
Yeah, and I just don't think that the EVs are going to sell here. But
well,
who am I?
And the worst part is that I don't remember what city it was. Let's say it was Philadelphia, but it might have been Indianapolis. But it doesn't matter. That they had to buy, that they got the electric buses, and they had to buy 2 of them for the same route because the first one would run out of power halfway through the shift, so they'd have to go to the other one. So you had to pay twice as much for the bus to begin with. Then you had to buy 2 of them, which meant 4 times the expense to do the same thing that one bus would have done if it was running on those evil fossil fuels.
And I'm pretty sure that here in Savannah, we bought 6 of those buses.
Yeah.
And we had to destroy 6 buses.
Yeah.
Working buses.
It didn't, and within a week or 2, they were offline.
Weird how that works. Well, of course, I'm very excited to see Vivek. He flew into New Hampshire to support Donald Trump last night. The New Hampshire primary, I believe, is Tuesday, is it not?
Yeah, and ABC has decided they're not going to air the debate because Trump and Haley said they weren't showing up anyway. So.
Well, Haley said that she wouldn't show up if Trump wasn't there, and she said otherwise it's her and DeSantis, and she also needs to learn how stuff works. She took 3rd in Iowa. So I'm not really sure what she's talking about. Yesterday, watching the clips of her, I'm just like...
I keep getting the mail. I keep getting the emails, the texts, and everything, about how great she's doing. No, she's not.
No. They're gaslighting everyone.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We're all starting to recognize the gaslighting. So it's like, okay,
That's
continue to spend...
Which is a fossil fuel, by the way.
Yeah. Continue to spend your money. It's ridiculous. And it kind of makes me mad that they're wasting all this money. Trump clearly is going to be... the nominee at this point.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen with these court cases, or I don't think that they will stop at anything to get him out of this race. But yeah.
So Haley can go back on the board at Boeing and maybe tell them how to tighten bolts.
Well, and Vivek went on Fox last night and was giving some advice to Nikki and Ron.
Yeah.
Look, we had a great conversation. I actually prefer to talk about policy rather than politics, Jesse, and so we talked about a number of issues backstage, which I've actually championed in this race that I do think would be beneficial to the America First movement for President Trump to take on, and I think he was very amenable to many of them. Opposition to a central bank digital currency, talking about certain pardons that I think we need on day one, Julian Assange included on that list. And so I'm not a politician, I'm a businessman, but I'm also somebody who cares about the details of policy and commitments. And so we had some great conversations backstage about that before I went on stage, and I think that you guys may have seen some of the rally that we had, and the response was overwhelming. And I think it's very clear who the Republican primary electorate is saying that they want to be their nominee. I ran to be that person. They sent me a very positive message, but the very positive message they sent to all of us is that Donald Trump needs to be the nominee of this party. And I think Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley would actually at this point do this country and this party a service by stepping aside to make sure that we're focused on not only nominating Donald Trump, but getting this country back and reviving those founding revolutionary ideals. And I think we do live in that 1776 moment right now. We need to win.
You're calling on Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis to drop out right now.
I am. And I do think that would be healthy for this country. And I think that, you know what, especially Ron DeSantis, at least of the two of them, will have an important role to play in the future of this country and leading this nation. I do believe that. But I think that the right thing to do right now is the people of this country through the Iowa caucus. It's the most grassroots process I've seen. I personally did over 390 events, built great relationships and goodwill, but the message they sent was clear. I think it's time to actually make sure we elect the right president, put America first, take the America First agenda to the next level. And you know what? America First, it's not even about Trump. It didn't start in 2016.
That's right.
It started in 1776.
You're right.
And so Donald Trump will be the right person to take this forward for the next 4 years. But we need to start laying down the foundation for this to live another 250 years.
All right.
And then some. And I do think that this is the right next step for us to take, which is why I proudly endorsed Donald Trump last night.
Well,
That's exactly what they need to do, and rally behind him, and make sure that we get a lot of ballot boxes put in around Republican areas, and make sure that people vote as many times as they possibly can.
Well, and I think that this is tearing apart the party for them to continue running in this race. We'll see what happens. Mary McCann Hybrider says Vivek for VP. I'm on board with that. However, you also look at the VP role, and they're not front-facing enough, I think, for Vivek. I think he needs to be in a cabinet position where he's constantly in the news. I think he should deal with the media constantly, and I think that he can make a bigger impact in a...
He'd be a great press secretary.
he would be, but I could also see him in, in a lot of other cabinet positions because of his policy. And I think that, we will see him in a cabinet position, but I don't know about VP. I think that, I don't think that role is, I don't think we've seen it be as important as some of the cabinet positions, which is terrible. But
you're
honestly,
just in charge of all the vice.
Yeah. Well, Pence Pence kind of, was in the background until COVID really hit. Yeah. And, Kamala Harris, they've been putting her in the wings for a few years now. Yeah. But she's
been in charge of everything.
Yeah. Well,
and has done nothing except I think she was working on getting the curtains redone or something, or
redesigning her office.
Remodeling. In her office.
But of course, she was out this weekend because who's a threat to the democracy that we don't live in?
What?
Who? It has to be Trump, doesn't it?
Oh.
Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy and our most fundamental freedoms. Remember the chaos, the division, the attacks that took rights and liberties from the American people. We cannot allow that to happen again. Make an investment in our campaign, and together we can protect our freedoms and keep the White House. Thank you.
What planet is she living on?
I have no idea. She is something else, though. I'll tell you that much. She looks tired, though.
Doesn't she? Well, with all those trips to the border and all those other oh, wait a minute. No. Well, maybe she's been up.
The facelift didn't help her, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
with the second gentleman, dancing in the dark or something. Have you seen the one with the Dalai Lama and Biden? No. Campaign fundraiser. Oh,
No.
that's a doozy.
I have not seen it.
Yeah, we'll have that for you tomorrow.
Okay.
All right.
Lizzie Warren says Stone might not have actually been convicted. Assange and Stone should both be pardoned. Harris looks tired. I agree with you, Lizzie Warren. And Mary Hybrider says democracy is the most overused word of the day. We live in a constitutional republic.
Exactly.
Exactly. It drives me insane.
And by the way, kind of breaking news here this morning that Israeli airstrikes have killed 9 in 2 areas of the occupied West Bank today. And Israeli military described at least 5 of the dead as terrorist suspects planning on an imminent attack. And among the terrorists were Palestinians, they said, seeking statehood. They already have statehood. They've had 20 years to do statehood. And they had ample opportunity to manufacture their own electricity, get their own water, get all of the other things that they had. They had an infrastructure left for them where they could be running factories, they could be making products, they could be joining the real world and showing the world what great people they are, but they didn't. They destroyed those factories, and they had to depend on Israel to supply them with their energy as well as their water, and now they're complaining about it. Don't attack the people that are actually providing you with the energy, okay?
Yeah, things not going well there, and I'm actually really disappointed that we are not having Biden being called to the, well, he is being called to the carpet by his own party because of the bombing in Yemen. He does not have the authority to do that on his own. He has to go to Congress, and it didn't happen.
Well, the fact that we waited too long to start retaliating in the first place, and we had our attorney, the defense secretary in the hospital that nobody knew about for over a week. How that happened is beyond our comprehension. Even his assistant didn't know that he was there, and they say the president didn't know either. But then again, he doesn't know it's Wednesday, so there's that. But it is pathetic what some of the stuff that we're tolerating here, and the people who are running this place have no clue as to what's going on.
Well, I just don't think we should be in any new wars. That Yemen stuff is going to come back to bite us, and probably will get us into something with Iran. So that's really exciting and fun.
We've lost 2 Navy SEALs, so God bless them, and God bless the Navy.
Well, when we get back, we'll be talking about, Pritzker. He is really upset that people are coming to Illinois.
The governor of, as we say here in the South, Illinois, is upset because besides the fact that he hadn't seen his feet in 20 years.
We'll be talking about that when we get back.
That's next.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable. The sad reality is, fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
4 and 9. Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard this morning on this Wednesday. Here it is. 17th day of January already?
Yes, and it's freezing cold.
It is. A little on the brisk side. 30 degrees, feels like 23. Going to 46.
Yes.
Dress in layers, as we say in the meteorological business.
Well, and I think one of the things that we're now seeing as an outcome of the border being open and people coming in from South America and other countries where they're not used to dealing with the cold, I think that it presents a lot more problems for places like New York and Chicago because they need warm places for people to sleep because it is very, very cold in those areas.
I've noticed that.
Yeah, it's weird how that works, isn't it? So, but Governor Pritzker, he's very upset that they are sending illegals up there. However, he did pass 4 bills to make them a sanctuary state. So that's kind of on him, Bill.
Yeah. Including, of course, laws that make sure that criminals continue to be able to kill you without impunity.
Not enough has been done. There's no doubt about that. And I think that the president needs to do more. The Congress needs to do more. Cities out here that are the target of this political game that Governor Abbott is playing are suffering. And here in Illinois, it's minus 29 degrees. Outside with the wind chill. We have migrants that arrive from Texas virtually every day, hundreds, and we don't have places to put them. We don't have enough shelter space here. There are plenty of other cities where, if he's going to send people, they could be sent. But no, he's choosing only Democratic states, Democratic cities.
You guys are the only ones that decided you were sanctuary cities and
Yeah.
sanctuary states.
Come on down or come on up.
And guess what? They are being sent to Georgia, and we're not a sanctuary state.
No,
So,
and we're not Democrat.
no, and we're not happy. That's for sure.
That's right.
And Steve Statton's with us this morning, and he says we don't have a democracy; we have a constitutional republic. So go ahead and kick out democracy. Yes, I think that we need to start correcting people because I think they've overused it to the point where people really do believe that we are a democracy. Lizzie Warren says maybe we are better off when Biden appointees are not actively working.
Yeah,
that's probably true.
Yeah, shutting down the government, good idea.
And Steve Stanton Sr., Pritzker was born with a platinum foot in his mouth, didn't earn a dang dime of his billions.
Yep. Sure
yeah. So, but that's what's interesting too, is that these people that do have all this money, they seek power because the money's not good enough.
No.
So they love to be in these positions of power, which it's his responsibility. The Illinois thing, that's on him. I feel like he signed off on those bills.
Yeah, that's why they seek it. It's an amazing aphrodisiac because when you heard Dr. Jill, who's not a doctor, talking to the folks at was it BSDNC or whoever it was, saying how hard that Joe works every day. He gets up every morning wondering what he can do to help the American people. And he's up, with getting his favorite noonday meal, breakfast, and then he works until 1:15.
They called a lid yesterday at 10 a.m.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So.
And we showed all the things that Donald Trump has done. So he campaigns in Iowa, flies all night to get to New York, and has to go to court in New York, and then he's off after that to New Hampshire, and he's just the Energizer Bunny. And then you look at the calendar for the so-called faux president, and he knocks things off at 10 o'clock. Boy, things must be nice. I used to admire a gentleman that when I was living in a wonderful little community, Georgetown, South Carolina, which is a beautiful historic town between Myrtle Beach and Charleston. And Georgetown Steel was a big manufacturing plant there, and the director there always amazed me. You could walk into his office at 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, and his desk, it looks like he's already done. There's nothing on his desk. Everything's, and the place is running like a sewing machine. Everything's done like clockwork. You ask him to do something and it's done. It always amazed me how organized he was and how pristine everything seemed to be. Like he didn't have a thing to do except sit there behind the desk and talk to me. And I was like looking around and said, what does this guy do all day?
Talks to constituents, knows what they want.
When I'm not here, and this place is running like a clock.
Well, Steve Stanton Sr. says, what the hell is Abbott supposed to do? And Lizzie Warren says, shouldn't each state receive their fair share of the illegals coming here? 1 of 50, the total amount coming in, 1/50th of the amount coming in, approximately 150,000 per state. No, I think the people that voted for this garbage, they should have to deal with it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And remember, it said, okay, you voted for this, so what's your complaint?
Yeah, because guess what? Reality, again, like we talked about earlier, narrative and reality are totally different, aren't they?
Yeah. And the federal government penalizing us and said, well, okay, we're going to bail these states out and we're going to give all this money, and because we're paying for it.
Here's the other thing with the budget that we're trying to approve for the federal. I don't believe that includes all of the money for the illegals coming into this country. So where does that money come from? If it's not approved as part of the budget, where is the money coming from, Bill?
A good question.
They just keep writing checks. They keep giving it out.
Yeah.
So very frustrated by this. Yeah. And of course, the Texas National Guard was called out. They are basically down in Texas, keeping the federal agents out and making it really hard for them to break the laws of this country and continue to let these illegals in.
And once again, what was this? The people that 3 people that drowned. They said that, and and they said that the Texas National Guard was keeping the feds or people from saving them. That's been proven to be false.
Yep.
Yeah, but of course the lies out there,
narrative,
and the damage is done.
Yeah. So they are using riot gear there, and they're trying to keep those people out. It does make for an impossible job when you have the federal government battling against you.
Yeah.
And
it's supposed to be the government's job to protect us, not the other way around.
Yeah. And Lizzie Warren says, how many Americans killed by illegals? Well, there's been plenty of stories I've heard of the rape and killings of girls.
The numbers are
DUIs
I'm sure are staggering.
Yes.
Well, remember after the Afghan debacle, pulling out there, and we were bringing all these Afghanis and these military bases, and some of the people on those bases, some of the women were being raped and by these Afghanis.
But look how quickly that story disappeared.
Yeah.
Out of the news just like that.
Yeah.
And, the Biden administration loves to use the DOJ to go after whatever a state is trying to prevent from happening. And in this case, it's no different. They're giving Texas today until to remove everything and give access back to the federal agents for the Shelby Park area.
No.
Well, Sandra, the battle over this park intensified last week when Texas put up additional razor wire and kicked out federal Border Patrol agents. Texas argues in part that it can just do a better job deterring migrants than the federal government here. There's more additional razor wire and fencing put up around this park. The dispute has now become more heated after Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar tweeted a fiery allegation that Texas is to blame for the drowning death in this area of a migrant mother and 2 children on Friday, alleging Texas blocked Border Patrol from rescuing them. DHS released a statement backing that claim. Well, the Texas Military Department strongly denies the allegation, saying Mexican authorities handled the drownings. But the White House weighed in on the unconfirmed allegation, writing in part, on Friday night, a woman and 2 children drowned near Eagle Pass, and Texas blocked U.S. Border Patrol from attempting to provide emergency assistance. Well, in the newest court filing, the Department of Homeland Security confirms what the Texas military says actually happened. The drownings occurred at 8 p.m., and Mexican authorities handled the incident and didn't even alert the U.S. until 1 hour after the migrants died. DHS writing in the new filing, Mexican officials also informed Border Patrol that 3 migrants, 1 woman and 2 children, had drowned at approximately 8 p.m. in the same area. Now, aside from those 3 migrants that drowned, DHS claims it was also blocked from assisting in a rescue of 2 other migrants that lived in this area. The Biden administration has warned that Texas has until tomorrow to allow federal agents back into this park. We'll be here throughout the day today and tomorrow, Sandra.
It's getting ridiculous, Bill.
It is.
The fact that there's not going to be any border security. There is not going to be any stop to this as long as he is the president of the United States and people don't start pushing back. The Congress, I am very sick of them. They have not done anything to help this.
Yeah.
They keep giving the Democrats everything they want.
Compromise and do it their way.
Well, and we'll see if this passes up in D.C. about them, having this continuing resolution crap that they keep doing. And
when was the last time we had a budget? I'm not sure it was in your lifetime.
Probably not.
It's been these CRs, and all of this is unconstitutional. You're supposed to have a budget. We have one here in Georgia. Our friends next door have one in South Carolina. They have one down in Florida. They got one in Alabama. And we can do it. Texas. You said, okay, this is the money, and I'm sorry, we're 400 highway patrolmen short. We don't have the money for it. We don't go out and hire 400 more highway patrolmen if you could find them. Interesting story from out of the San Francisco area just a couple of days ago over the weekend on Fox, when they said that a former San Francisco police officer said that he was making over $200,000 as a San Francisco policeman. His salary was 100. He said his salary was $111,000, and with overtime, he was making over $200,000. Still couldn't afford a home because the starting price there was $1.2 million for a house. And right outside of San Francisco, one of their police departments is offering a starting salary of $113,000 with a $75,000 signing bonus, and they still can't get enough police officers. Wonder why that is.
It's amazing, Bill. It's amazing. This is and California is the prime example of what this country is going to turn into if we do not get a handle on things quickly.
Well, that's the truth.
Steve Stanton Sr. says he's an existential threat. FJB policies. Mary McCann Hybrider says Biden is to blame for the entire debacle. He took an oath to serve and protect. This is treason. I don't disagree.
All of these people did that are serving, and it is disgusting what they're doing to this country, and the lies that they are telling and how they can live with themselves is beyond my comprehension.
I'm not sure either. And Lizzie Warren says a mother who cannot swim takes her children into a river. Who is the one to blame for the drowning? It's a huge risk, and I think people need to understand that you cannot be in this country illegally. There's a bunch of people that also have been coming into the country 8 and 9 months pregnant so they can have an anchor baby. Isn't that exciting?
We got to get rid of that.
Yeah, I agree.
That law was an amendment was never written for that purpose.
It was an unintentional consequence.
Yeah, exactly. No other country does this. If you were born in Germany, you're not a German. Okay, if you're born in Israel, you're not an Israeli. It doesn't happen that way. I think if you're born in Chad, you're not a Chadonian or whatever you call them. Yeah.
Well, and of course, there's more, Bill.
Oh.
There's more.
Ooh.
We now have the Dallas and New York airports saying that on January 3rd, there was a person who potentially exposed a bunch of people to a dangerous measles outbreak.
Health officials in Virginia are warning travelers at Dulles and Reagan airports that they may have been exposed to highly contagious measles. The Virginia Department of Health says the warning is linked to an international traveler who was at the international arrivals at Dulles Airport between 4 and 8 o'clock on Wednesday, January the 3rd, then at Terminal A at Reagan Airport the following day between 2:30 and 6:30 in the afternoon. They added the virus can stay in the air as long as 2 hours after the presence of an infected person, and for those who step foot in the airports to watch for symptoms until January the 24th.
Could this person be an illegal flying around the country? We just don't know. But I think that this, brings up more questions for me as far as we're not vetting these people. We're not making them have an ID. We're not making them tell us what kind of vaccinations they have. We know nothing about these people. And if who they say they are is really who they are. I mean, it's a huge issue. And I don't understand why we are treated like we're terrorists every time we go through airport security, but yet these people, it's all good. We'll pay for your ticket, no ID, no problem. Get on the plane, have a great time.
Yeah. If you need a colonoscopy, best thing to do is go to the airport and you can get one. Get before you get on that plane, make sure that they everything's okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty frustrated. I also I watched a lot of footage down at the border, and one of the guys was saying, he's thanking the ex-president of Mexico because of all of his help in allowing the Hispanic people to get over the border.
Yeah.
He didn't go into details, but I'm curious as to what that looks like, though.
Yeah. Let's. It's amazing.
It's exhausting, and I'm really frustrated with people that have decided that they're just going to live in a fantasy land, continue to put everything on their credit card, and not understand that elections have consequences. I understand none of us love politics. You've been doing this for a very long time. I'm not super thrilled about being involved in politics because it's messy, it's dirty, and the people that represent us are not exactly the people that I would choose. And there's so much money involved. There's so much corruption involved. And unless good people start getting involved, this will continue.
And you're going to have to suffer the slings and arrows because I remember Herman Cain was a good friend of mine. And he had to drop out of the presidential race. And he said he had to drop out because it was destroying his family. Because all of a sudden, all these women that he'd never met, he'd never heard of, start coming out of the woodwork saying he'd made all these sexual advances and things of that nature. For the Me Too movement was in full swing here. And this is about 10 years ago, and it looked like he was stood a good chance of maybe getting a presidential nomination, be the first black president, and it was just unbelievable. And he said he had to drop out, and when he did, those women just went away.
It's amazing how that works, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it
So
is.
if you've decided that politics is something you don't want to get involved in, it's already running your life and ruining it. So
Yeah.
I suggest
So
everyone get involved soon.
may as well get involved. Well, our good buddy Travis Chance is going to be checking in with us here on what's going on financially and how we can help save your money and maybe keep it safe for you until you retire. That's next.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934 with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
Welcome back to Get Real America. I'm Bill Edwards, and our good buddy Travis Chance here with us this morning here from CFG Wealth Management on what's going on stock market wise, as well as being able to save your money so that you don't run out of money before you run out of breath. And Travis, they're talking this morning. Wall Street Journal is reporting that the retail spending in December was pretty strong, and looks like that's a good indication going into 2024.
It is, Bill, and good morning. One of the things also that went with that article, I don't know if you saw this as well. There's a company, and layaway is not new hat, right? But there's a company called Affirm that is a buy now, pay later company that really took a beating in 22. It was the darling of Wall Street in 21. 22 just got hammered. 23 spent most of the year in the dungeons, and then all of a sudden, it has just made this resurgence because it's now partnering with Amazon and Walmart and a lot of these other retailers. And some of that, I think, is also attributable to those types of transactions. The zero, if you will, zero interest or no interest if paid in 6 months or whatever the terms are. And instead of people putting it on credit cards, et cetera, they're, utilizing, which once again, I don't agree with, but it is what it is. They're using those types of transactions to expand their spending. So I think there's definitely something to be said about, we're not seeing the unemployment number come down. We're not seeing these layoffs and these mass firings like a lot of economists said was going to happen the last, 14 out of the last 14 months. But I do think what you're seeing is a little more stability, but also the resurgence of some of these vehicles that probably help prop that number up as well.
One of the things that I think, Travis, is interesting to me is how you managed to follow, and I'd like to know what a kind of a typical day is like. Because you follow this stuff and said, well, if there is one, okay, all right, make up your own joke here. But that you follow these trends and you say, well, this one looks so good one year, it goes into you have a year where it's taking a beating, but you keep watching that to see where the problem is, knowing that that's probably going to circle back around, as Jen Psaki would say, it's circle back and get back on top.
A typical day for me, Bill, I don't even know. We don't have time. There is no typical day for me. But no, in all honesty, one of the things that I do is I'm always interested to be the dumbest person in the room. I mean that sincerely, because I'm reading the analysts that is what they are, literally blinders, just focused, kind of like the old days, a mule in the field. You put the blinders on because you got to keep them in the road. That's what they do. So, my job is to help digest and to help you guys and to help the listeners digest what's going on around us. But, it's impossible to have, your fingers in the estate planning, the tax planning, the overall financial planning, the macro, and be able to chase all of the data that needs to be digested. So we use a number of firms and analysts to help feed us data, and then we can read the reports and try to help make some sense of it. So there's really my day starts early and ends late. So there's no typical day, but that's how we try to make sense of it for our clients, because it changes at lightning speed. And one of the things we try to encourage clients to do, and your listeners, is we want to make sure that you're not making knee-jerk decisions and reactions. Kind of like we were talking about and joking, the China sell-off whenever Trump won Iowa, right? Was that because of geopolitical risk and news to China, or was that something a little bit more nefarious under the scenes that we don't know about? Those are the types of things you need to weed through. You can't make decisions off of headlines and try to make sure the trends are working in your favor. And if they're not, then you need to transition and change course.
Yeah, I know. Travis, I remember years ago, one of my doctors told me that he has to subscribe to Reader's Digest so he can keep up with the latest diseases that people have come up with, and walk into his office and say, "Well, I have that."
Right.
Well, let's just test for it, or let me look up last month's edition and see exactly what that is. So because
that's been replaced by WebMD.
Yeah, that's right. So we have CNBC, we have the Motley Fool, we have the Wall Street Journal, you have all these different things, and maybe, I know some of your clients probably look over this stuff, and I leave it, my wife and I leave it all to you, and we've been very happy with it. But some people, I'm sure, probably call you up and say, and even I've suggested, sometime, would you look into this for me? And because
Sure.
I heard this, and you do the research and get back to us.
Well, and Bill, here's the thing. There's no perfect solution.
Mm-hmm.
There is no perfect plan. There's only prepared and unprepared. And the market changes very rapidly. The market is going to do what the market does. Headlines can move the market either way. And we just have to make sure that we're looking at everything from the prism of all, not just a very few details. Because let's face it, there's a lot of companies. You look at it and you see these things on TV, and this I forget what it was, who the guy was, but there was a guy that was talking about for $49 he can teach you how he's never been wrong in the market ever in his life. If that was the
Sounds
case,
like money well spent to me.
You would be selling it for a lot more than $49. Yeah. But no, Bill, it's everyone has a mortgage to pay. Everyone has a widget to sell. They're selling widgets. We're not selling widgets. Our job is to help you digest and help you continue to move the ball forward. Are we gonna? Is any time in the market going to be completely without ripple, without issues? No. There's always going to be doves flying. We just got to make sure that we don't get spooked by them, and we keep fundamentally sound strategy, and we just keep moving forward.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the old saying about the televangelists sometimes, Travis, where it's, beware of the guy that tells you to send your money to Jesus and gives you his address.
Very good, very good. Or what was the guy's name? I forget his name. He said he couldn't fly. He had to buy Tyler Perry's jet because he couldn't fly a coach or fly in a jet because he was surrounded by demons.
That's right.
Make sure you don't make your check out to him.
Yeah, he needed another jet because he said if Jesus came back here, he wouldn't be riding on a donkey. So
Right, and it was just such a good deal. Tyler Perry sold it to him at such a good deal.
yeah, absolutely. At least I hope he bought a Gulfstream. That helps our economy. When you when you're looking down the road at this, Travis, and you're trying to balance everything, it seems like the people you depend on. You they give you, and you've had them when you have our little quarterly meetings and things that you do for us. You bring these people in, and they show
Yes.
how they make their analysis, and they, whereas Allianz and some of the others that you use that are it's, to me, it's brilliant. How they do it, and they continue to make money. They've got great track records, and that's the reason that you use them and stick with them. It's the reason we've done so well.
Well, Bill, here's the long and short, and as I just stated, you know, the tax code changes subtly or drastically year to year. We've got estate issues that we always have to keep our eye on. We have tax issues. We have investments. We have healthcare. That's a lot of balls to juggle in the air to make yourself a absolute expert on everything. And that's no different than a general contractor building your house. That person that's actually overseeing and making sure everything is to code and making sure it's done properly is probably not the same one driving the nails and swinging the hammer. You have to have good people as a team, because otherwise you just get left behind. And that's the reason why we use the resources we use, is because that's their job. Their job is to feed us. Our job is to help digest and then turn around and make sure we're feeding you properly as well. So everyone has to have a role, just like you guys have a great team. That there's a lot of those that work behind the scenes, Bill, that never get seen on Get Real America, but you couldn't do it without them. And that's no different than what our team is.
Yeah, it's good advice to have somebody who looks after your finances when the rest of us don't have time to. And we I don't know if we're beating the dead horse here or anything else, but it is vital, and it doesn't matter when you start. The earlier, of course, the better. But for God's sakes, get started. Tell people how to do that.
Absolutely, Bill. What's the old expression? When's the best time to plant a tree? 30 years ago. When's the next best time? Today.
Yeah.
You can't go back. You can only go forward. We've got a marathon to plan for. This is not a sprint. That's why, folks, if you're retiring, and Bill, remember, that's our niche, right? It's how do we combine time and sequence your Social Security, your investment choices, your investment income, your overall strategy to make sure that you're paying the least amount in taxes. You've positioned yourself for as little risk as possible when it comes to health care. You've got your estate going to who it needs to go to and not the IRS as a whole. So that's why they need to give us a call, 877-269-0839, so that we can help them get on track. Because, folks, there is either prepared or unprepared, and it's just which one would you rather be? And we take the side of being prepared versus unprepared.
Very good. And folks, I promise you, you do need to get started and give Travis a call. No obligation. Tell him you heard it here. Travis, we appreciate it. We'll talk. Huh?
For Bill,
Yep.
For Bill Edwards listeners, 20-minute Ask Us Anything. I'm an open book. Ask me what you want.
All right, sir. Travis, talk to you again next week.
Thanks, Bill. Y'all have a great week.
You too. All right. Travis Chance, and he's with CFG. Way to go. Nice job. And the market was down like 200 points here yesterday. And what were you saying? The Hang Seng went berserk because Donald Trump won over there.
That's what it
Iowa.
appeared. That's
Yeah.
what it appeared, that people had an issue in China when Trump looks like the nominee.
You ought to worry more than anything else about a country or a regime like China that doesn't want Donald Trump to be president again, and they were actively campaigning against him in the last cycle and providing a lot of money to the Democrats.
Well, I also think you have to, Bill, you kind of have to also look at where we're at as a country. These people that are running against Donald Trump, do they really want what's best for the country, or is this these people that are paid for by big donors. And honestly, Ron DeSantis is probably one of the biggest disappointments that I can look at in the last 10 years from the Republican Party, because a year ago, he was the person we all wanted to be vice president. Unfortunately, because of, I think, bad advice, bad campaign managers, and just bad acumen, I think that he's run a terrible campaign. He attacked Donald Trump. That is the thing that you shouldn't do. And it's interesting when Trump is always accused of being divisive, but yet it's everyone running against him that is throwing the arrows. He actually said, you know what, they all did a really good job. We all need to come together as a country, whether you're Democrat or Republican. And here's the other thing. I know we're all mad at the Democrats. I know we're all mad at them because we have Joe Biden. But we also have to give them an opportunity to change their mind. And if we're so hateful and so awful towards them, they will never vote for our guy. They will never come to our side. And right now they have no options. Last I checked, he had a 32% approval. I'm not sure who those 32% are, but maybe they don't pay taxes. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the answers, that they don't pay taxes, that we don't have enough. I know that as my wife does property management, that these people that owe a lot of people that owe a lot of debts and back rent, when the checks come out, they haven't paid any taxes. They haven't filed taxes, or they file or whatever, or what their income is, but they get this big refund. And suddenly they're paying all this back rent and everything else. And my wife doesn't tolerate too much back rent before you're out of here. I don't care if it's Christmas Eve, you're out of here.
Yeah, you can't. And Lizzie Warren says she read an article where China has created a new COVID with 100% fatality rate in mice. I did see that as well.
Well,
isn't that exciting? Isn't that what you want the Chinese to be doing right now?
Yeah, as if the Chinese and the vaccine people haven't done enough to kill us, then here comes something else.
Yeah. Not a fan of these people.
You know, and where do they think this is going? There was once upon a time, they recreated the Twilight Zone one time, and it, nice try, but it didn't have the Rod Serling touch because Rod was already with the Lord. But one of the episodes that they did was about this guy that teaches anatomy at this medical school, and he was paying these thugs to get him cadavers. So they're out there killing people in shanty town that they said, nobody ever cares about, homeless or whatever, and bringing them in. So he's got plenty of cadavers for his students. Okay. One night they brought in his daughter, and reality struck him between the eyes. So this is what happens. Be careful what you pray for. When this is so you're going to develop a virus that's 100% lethal. How do you think that's going to work? You think you're going to be immune from it? I would think you ought to think again.
I think they're all drunk on power is the problem.
It's one of the things that we did when I was in the Army, and we jumped out of the 30-foot tower to learn how to parachute. And of course, you're hooked up with wires and everything else. That's a pretty interesting sensation to jump out, and for about, it seems like an hour and a half before this thing catches, and the ground's getting closer and closer. But it works. But the guys who pack the parachutes, there's about 3 people that there's a kind of a line like an assembly line that repacks parachutes. Every person who packs that chute has to sign. The first guy has to sign. The second, I think 3 or 4 people are involved in packing a chute. Every one of them has to sign that. And about every few months, the inspector comes along, and here are the parachutes all lined up against the wall. He grabs them and starts handing them out to all these people that have signed the parachute. Said, "You signed this?" "Yes, sir." "Let's go jump."
Well,
so they don't know what day they're actually going to be. That they better pack it correctly, because one of these days they're going to be asked to test it live, and that has worked very, very well over the years.
Amazing how that is.
You don't see too many streamers and our paratroopers die from the jump itself.
Right. And Steve Stanton Sr. says depopulation. It's interesting that you say that, Steve, because we've been told that having children is bad for the environment here in the U.S., that we've convinced a whole generation of people they should not have children, that having children is less than. But then their argument for bringing all these illegals in is that we don't have enough population.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It makes no sense. And we don't have enough housing.
Right.
So
And Dr. Paul Ehrlich was one of the people who he wrote a book back in the 70s called The Population Bomb. He was on the Tonight Show, and he was a sensation. He was a rock star because he had zero population growth was another one of his. He said, just have enough people to replace the ones that are here. Don't have any more than that because the earth can't sustain it. 20 or 30 years later, he was a professor at Stanford. One of his fellow professors who didn't believe it told him, he says, I'll make you a bet that that this is not going to work out. He finally had to pay off on the bet because he said that the Earth at the time had 3 billion population. Said the Earth couldn't sustain a 5 billion population. It got to 5 billion, and everything seemed to be fine. There was still plenty of food. Same story, same song, second verse. And this professor went to him and said, "You owe me some money. You said that we couldn't the Earth couldn't take 5 billion people. Here they are, and things just seem to be hunky dory." All right, that's going to do it for us. Thursday edition coming up. We'll be talking to Jay Ratliff tomorrow about some of the things that are going on in the sky and sometimes on the ground. Boy, there was another incident in Japan yesterday where 2 planes ran into each other on the runway it was in a blizzard. But we'll be talking about that, and also the air traffic controller that told a pilot, "That's what you're supposed to do," because I Googled it.
Isn't that exciting?
I
feel
can't
safe
wait.
flying. I
Yes,
definitely do.
And go to DEI at United. There's a lot of good stuff to talk about.
Yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. We will see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, help us out.